Hey guys, how's it going? It's Josh here with Buckeye Bowhunter, and today I have part 2 of my beginner turkey hunting 101 series, and I'm going to talk about gear. So last week I kind of did a introduction to turkey hunting video. It was kind of long, it was a lot of talking, so I'm going to try and keep this one shorter. Hopefully you guys watched that one and bared through it. This one is going to be much more straight to the point. I'm going to kind of dive into all of the gear that goes with turkey hunting, but more specifically, I'm going to talk about the gear that you absolutely need to start turkey hunting if you're a beginner turkey hunting, if you've never been before. So if you're on a budget, if you're trying to get started, I'm going to let you know what you need and what you don't need with this video. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about today is your gun or your bow. Bow hunting for turkeys is pretty difficult. I've done it a few times. It's pretty hard. Usually that entails sitting in a blind or something like that because drawing your bow on a turkey is very difficult. As we all know, they have very good vision. They see a little different than deer. Deer kind of focus on movement and kind of can pick out movement very well. Turkeys do the same thing, but they also have vision that more closely resembles mine and yours, where they can pick up specific details and they're looking for things that are out of place in the woods, and they're very good at that. So hunting with a bow is definitely a cool option. It's an option that can be done. Most people will do it in a blind. It can be done run and gun style. I've never been successful at that, and that's why I choose to use a shotgun. And a shotgun, in my opinion, is the funnest way to hunt turkeys, like by far. It's a blast. And with turkey hunting, you don't need anything special. You don't need to spend $1,500 on a turkey gun. You can if you want, but you don't need to. You can buy a $300 or $400 shotgun and get the same results. My shotgun right here that I use for turkey hunting is a Remington 870 12 gauge. I have a Vortex Reflex red dot sight on it just because, you know, I really enjoy shooting with a red dot. You don't need that though. You can kill a bird with just one bead on the front like you would use if you're dove hunting or bird hunting or rabbit hunting or something. Gonna want some kind of turkey choke. I have a video that I put out last spring about turkey chokes. I'll put that down in the link below. It's not a necessity, but it definitely helps when you're patterning your gun. And that's another thing I go through in that video is how to pattern your gun and why it's important. It's really important to know how your BBs are hitting the target downrange and what that pattern looks like, so that when you're shooting at a bird, you know how your gun is going to perform, you know how much range you have, and you can take an ethical shot. Like I said, you don't need anything special. This is just a pump 12 gauge. It's getting kind of popular nowadays where people are starting to hunt with 20 gauges, lighter, and with technology that comes in all the new turkey loads, you can get plenty of range out of a 20 gauge and even a 410 if you're trying to take a kid hunting for the first time. You could go to Walmart, buy a $300 gun. Usually when you buy a new shotgun, it'll come with multiple different chokes. A full choke, you can definitely get by with that. I would definitely suggest looking at purchasing an actual turkey choke, a choke meant for shooting turkeys, because it will improve your pattern. But with that said, I'll talk about shells really quick. I've been shooting these shells for probably the last 5 years by Winchester. They're the Longbeard XRs, and these are the 3.5 inch 5 shots. I've had super good luck with these. They perform great. Pretty much any shell that you're gonna get that has a turkey on it or it's a turkey load is gonna do fine. The plus with something like this or like a tungsten load, which has heavier BBs in it, you're gonna have a lot further range. You know, I've heard guys shooting birds out to 60, 70 yards. That's cool and all, but it's not needed. You can just get, you know, a 3 inch or 2 3/4 inch turkey load and be completely effective out to 40 yards, 35 yards, and be just fine harvesting a bird with that. So we talked a little bit about shotguns, we talked a little bit about ammo. Let's talk about camouflage, because I think camouflage is probably, compared to all other kinds of hunting, camouflage is probably has the most importance when it comes to turkey hunting, if that makes sense. Turkeys can see very well, and it's very imperative that you are covered up head to toe with camo when that bird comes in strutting and he's in close range, because if you're not, he'll pick you out, trust me. So I'll just go through some of the stuff that I wear. Depending on the time of the season, early season, you might not have much leaves on the trees, so it might be pretty brown. And the later you get into the season, is a lot more green out. So you can kind of tailor your camo to what the environment actually looks like out there. I'll wear just a camo hoodie. I think it's the Masio Bottomland green leaf or something like that. This is a great pattern for turkey hunting. The most important thing is that it's not shiny. Sometimes when you get that like wet wicking or sweat wicking or like Under Armour type material, it can have a little sheen to it or a little shine. You really want to stay away from stuff like that when it comes to hunting turkeys. A real dull pattern is going to be your best bet. But I'll wear something like this early season, especially if, you know, we had a late spring and there's no leaves on the trees yet. Once we kind of get towards the middle of the season or late season, I'm going to probably put something on like this. And this is a leafy suit. I think this is just a Realtree Advantage leafy suit. And what's cool about this is I can wear a t-shirt and zip this thing up, and I'm completely camoed. And it's even got a hood. It's got these leaves that kind of really help break up your outline, and it's super lightweight, super cool. Like I said, you can just wear a t-shirt under this and throw this on over it. Wear this all day. You're not going to overheat or anything, so it's definitely something that I would recommend. You're definitely going to need a pair of camo pants as well. Something that's going to dry quickly for those wet mornings when you're walking through, you know, high grass and there's a lot of dew on the ground. But I think most importantly, which kind of gets overlooked a lot of times, especially when you're deer hunting, is gloves and a face mask. These are the gloves I wore last year for turkey hunting. And gloves are important because when a bird's walking in and you're sitting under a tree and you got your shotgun up, both of your hands are kind of like right there at eye level in the forefront for that turkey to spot. So if you just have bare skin there, he's going to see that walking in depending on the situation, and you want to make sure you have your hands covered for sure. Now, I always cut off the thumb and the forefinger. That helps me, you know, if I'm using my phone on Onyx or something, or I got to call the lady, when using calls, pulling the trigger on my shotgun. I prefer that. You don't have to do that. It's really easy to modify any pair of gloves. Just cut them off with a pair of scissors. That's what I do. Gloves, definitely important. So probably just as important or even more important than gloves is a face mask. You're going to definitely want to have a face mask with you. Just like it's important to cover up your hands so that birds don't see your bare skin, it's super important to cover up your face as well. If you got a big beard like me, you can probably get away with some face paint on your face, around your eyes, and on your ears. But I always carry one of these with me because, you know, by 9 o'clock that morning, usually the face paint has like worn off my face or rubbed off, and I'll end up wearing a face mask anyways. And obviously, when it comes to a hat, you can wear a hat if you want. You don't have to. I would never wear a hat with this big white patch on it like I have on right now. I would probably wear a hat like this that's camouflaged. Nice, dull camo pattern. It's going to hide me. Like I said, camouflage is super important when it comes to hunting turkeys because they have fantastic vision, and that's what's going to bust you every time. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you're as camouflaged as possible. Try to pick camo that matches the environment that you're hunting in. That's why I have multiple different kinds. It's really easy to go to Walmart or some cheap hunting outlet store, or maybe like a military surplus store, and just buy some cheap camo to get started. Make sure you get some gloves, face mask, camo hat, and you should be good to go. And if you pair this camo with putting yourself into good situations, using shadows, using brush piles and different vegetation to help break up your outline, that's gonna be even better for you. But we're gonna talk a lot more about that when I get into strategy, and that'll be another video down the line. So we've talked about camouflage and we've talked about guns and ammo. Let's talk about my favorite thing about turkey hunting, and that is calls. Calls, for a new turkey hunter, for somebody who's never gotten into this, if you start looking up turkey calls, it can get super overwhelming super quickly. There are a ton of different manufacturers out there. There's a ton of different kinds of calls, and you definitely don't need all of them. You can get away with one call if you want to. What happens is the more you hunt, the more you learn how to use all these different calls and learn that they all kind of make their own different noises and different sounds and different pitches. And it can definitely be to your advantage to know how to use all of these, because turkeys are very frustrating sometimes, and One day they might answer to a box call, but they won't answer to a slate call, and the next day it might be the complete opposite. So it can help to have a bunch, but you definitely don't need them. I'm gonna kind of start with like the more advanced calls and work my way to the more beginner type call, in my opinion. And with that, I'm gonna start out talking about the diaphragm call. The diaphragm call holds a special place in my heart. It's probably my favorite turkey call there is. It was one of the first turkey calls I learned how to use, and it takes a little while to get used to. It's not something you're gonna pick up tonight and be a master at tomorrow, but if you do have time, you know, buy one of these a couple months before turkey season starts, try to get the hang of it, get used to it, watch a bunch of videos. I'll have another video coming up in this series about calls where I kind of talk about how to use these. I'll give you a little example real quick. That's one that I had from last year. It sounds a little goofy, but you get the picture. But you can see how diaphragm calls can be really advantageous, because if you got a bird coming in, you're trying to be hands-free, maybe you're filming, or maybe you got both hands on your gun, you can still call. And you know, if you get good at this, you can be as quiet as you want. You can do purrs, clucks, kikis, yelps, cutting, anything you want with these calls, and they make all different kinds of them. So definitely an option, not one that you have to be good at to kill a turkey. The next type of call I want to talk about real quick is the box call. And I think the box call is probably one of the most iconic turkey calls there is. Box calls, in my opinion, I've never been really good at them. I've always kind of used them as more of like a locator call because they're super loud. But it's a friction-based call, and all you're doing is you're rubbing this paddle against the box. And you're getting that turkey noise. Pretty easy. I'd say this is a moderate to easy call to learn how to use. Something you definitely could pick up and be pretty good at the next morning. Is this the only turkey call that I would want in my pocket if I was going hunting? Probably not. If I could only take one turkey call into the woods with me, just based on how easy it is to use and how well it sounds and how realistic it can sound, is the pot call. Pot calls are a friction-based call as well. They come with a pot and a striker and some kind of medium that you're rubbing the striker on. This one happens to be glass. They make them in all different types of mediums, slate, aluminum, and they all kind of have different tones and pitches to them. This glass call, pretty easy to learn how to use. Only takes a little bit. I love pot calls. I use them all the time. This pot call here is like a waterproof one. You can tell it has a little different pitch. You can play it if it's wet. On the back side, it has a slate. You can be a little quieter, a little softer pitched. If I was gonna recommend one call, it would definitely be a slate call. They're really user-friendly. You could get good at it really quick, and it's just a really great call. I've killed a ton of birds with just a slate call in my pocket, so that would be my recommendation if you're just starting out. And then the last type of call I wanna talk about is actually a weird one. It's called a locator call, and if you have no experience in turkey hunting, it's probably a weird concept, but locator calls, the most common would probably be an owl hooter or a crow call. And what you're doing is you're making the sound of another animal to shock a turkey into gobbling. And that can be really advantageous to you because sometimes it is in your best interest to hear that bird gobble and get a location on him without him thinking that you're a hen and wanting to start moving towards you before you're set up. So sometimes it helps to, you know, blow a locator call, get that bird to gobble, then, you know, make your move set up before you start calling to him as a hen. Like I said, there's all kinds of different locator calls. This one is a owl hooter. Owl hooters Primarily, you're going to use this in the morning if you're trying to get a bird to gobble while he's still on the roost. That's just a plain owl hoot, and I've had plenty of birds just gobble at that. We don't really know why they'll gobble at that stuff. Like, they'll gobble at a car horn, or you slamming your car door shut, any kind of loud noise. Some people think it's like sexual frustration, or maybe they, hate owls. Who knows? But it definitely works. Crow call. Here's a crow call right here. I've gotten many gobblers to gobble at that as well. Here's a locator call that can be overlooked. It's kind of 2-in-1. This is a pileated woodpecker call or a hawk scream. So that's a pileated woodpecker. That's a hawk scream. This could get a bird to gobble as well. If I was gonna recommend one locator call to own, it would definitely be the owl hooter. I think the owl hooter comes in the most handy for me the most often in the mornings when I'm trying to locate a bird while they're still on the roost, and in the evenings when you're trying to put a bird to bed. I've been very successful with these as well. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is definitely not a necessity. So I'll just say that in the beginning. You don't need these to be successful, but they will help you, and that is decoys. I've had a lot of success over the years using decoys, but I've gotten away with not using them a lot as well. There's all different kinds of decoys, ranging from prices of $300 all the way down to $20. You could definitely get away with getting a cheap decoy. I'll show you a couple of the decoys I have. This is a Avian X Jake decoy. These are kind of cool. These are kind of cool because they actually deflate and inflate, so they don't take as much room up in your pack or in your bag if you're hauling them, way in to a setup or something like that. They just have a little thing you pop out. And ready to go. So you can throw them on a stake. They got a little hole in the bottom, and it looks like a Jake. Here's another Avian X decoy that I have, and this is just a hen. Pretty realistic looking decoy. I think these average like $60 to $80 or something like that a piece. This deflates too and takes up less room in your pack. This is probably my favorite decoy, and this is from Montana Decoys, and I think this is called the Perfect Hen. Pretty sweet little deal. It takes up very little space, very little room, very lightweight, and it's made of fabric and a big spring inside it. And all you do is take this strap off it, and what happens is it expands and looks like a turkey. And then there's a little slot in here where you can put your stake in, and it's made of fabric. It's got all these little cuts in it, so in the wind they'll kind of blow and look like feathers. I think it runs, don't quote me on this, but I want to say like 60 to 80 bucks as well. But definitely a cool little decoy to have, because more often than not I won't carry these other big decoys in the woods with me. I will always have this with me in the woods because it does take up so little space. Whether I use it or not always, but it's that option for me. If you were gonna buy one decoy, it doesn't have to be this one, but I would recommend buying a hen decoy, because that's gonna probably be your best bet to get through the entire season. Certain times of the year, it's beneficial to use like a full strutting tom or a Jake with a hen. If you're just gonna buy one decoy, I would suggest getting a hen decoy. Last but not least, I want to talk about turkey vests. Turkey vests are definitely not something you need, but if you become addicted, and addicted turkey hunters tend to have a ton of gear, because gear is fun and buying new things is fun. So I got so many calls and all kinds of stuff that I carry into the woods with me. It really helps to have a vest to stay organized. You don't need it though. Like I said, you need one call in your pocket and your shotgun, and you could just go turkey hunting and definitely be successful. But if you start getting the full range of equipment, like I said, obsessed turkey hunters have, a vest is definitely going to be your best friend. The big thing about a vest is it's got, usually, not all of them, but most of them will have a big pouch in the back where I can carry my decoys. I can carry a bird if I've shot one out of the woods. If I have a really long walk, I can carry my lunch. All these vests are different, but they'll all have a bunch of different organizational pockets for you where you can keep all the different types of calls. You can see here, this one has a box call pocket right here. Slide my box call right in, won't make any noise. Pot call holders right here. I got little slots to keep my strikers. Lanyards to hold your locator calls. Definitely a helpful thing, but you do not need it. I repeat, you do not need a turkey vest to kill a turkey. The other thing that I will notice if you saw this when I turned around is a butt pad. This thing will flip down so that when you're sitting up against a tree, it can definitely be beneficial to have that padding under your butt, especially if you're gonna sit for an hour or two and you got a root sticking up underneath you. It can save you, it can keep you in the woods longer, and definitely help you put a bird on the ground. Vests can come in all different shapes and sizes. They can come in all prices, you know, from 40, 50 bucks all the way up to like $300 and more probably. You don't need anything that fancy. You could definitely get away with a cheap vest to start out. Like I said though, you could get away with no vest. So I hope that helped you guys out. I hope you got some good information from that. If you're just getting started into turkey hunting and there was something I missed and you have a question, please put that comment below and I will get back to you about that. All you avid turkey hunters out there, if there's something I missed, make sure you comment down below as well. Please stay tuned for my next video I'll be dropping next week, where I'm going to talk about all the calls I use and the strategies that go into using those calls. Hopefully that video will be just as beneficial to you. And as always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough, and we'll see you on the next one.